Welcome to Life Unscripted, Adulting Uncovered, the podcast for anyone out here doing their best to grow, heal, and not totally lose it in the process. I'm your host, Brennan, and if you ever felt like the only adult still figuring it out, don't worry, you're not alone. This is the place for you. Let's stop pretending and start talking.
Guys, welcome back to another episode of Life Unscripted, Adulting Uncovered. Today, we're talking about something that most of us have been taught to avoid, downplay, or hide, or maybe it's something you've trained yourself not to deal with in general because it makes you feel weak, and that is vulnerability. We've been sold this idea that strength looks like having it all together, that if you're not always confident, always crushing life, never fazed, anything outside of that is weak. But I'm here to tell you that's a lie. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's power, it's courage, it's freedom, and it's your ability to step out as the most authentic version of yourself, to show up unapologetically you without hiding. So why do we do this? Maybe early on we learn you shouldn't cry. Don't show fear. Don't let people see you struggle. Don't show emotion. Maybe there's some childhood messaging in there. Maybe you grew up in a setting where you had to learn to self-soothe and you had to avoid asking for help. So now as an adult, it makes you feel weak or emotionally naked to be vulnerable. Maybe there are cultural elements at play. It could be that in certain settings, maybe professional settings or different environments, you've trained yourself not to open up and be more authentic. Or it could be that in today's day and age, everybody's dating profile is showing the highlights. No one's showing their most authentic self because they're afraid to show up as who they are for fear of rejection, they won't be liked, or whatever the case may be. It could just be the simple fact that you don't like letting go of control. But here's the truth. Hiding from your most authentic self can be exhausting. Pretending that something's okay or that it's you when it's not is also exhausting. Because if you think about it, you're performing instead of connecting. You're managing an image instead of living your most authentic self and living your quote-unquote best life. So what does vulnerability actually look like? There's very obvious vulnerability in romantic relationships, and you could have vulnerability at work in professional settings, and that could be as simple as saying something like, hey, I know I missed that detail in the report yesterday, and I own that. It won't happen again, and I'm doing blank to correct it. That statement is very powerful. It says, hey, I'm stepping out and admitting my fault. I'm saying that I own it, and I'm telling you it's not going to happen again, and here's the actions I'm taking to correct it. Maybe you have vulnerability within yourself, and that could just look like you being honest with yourself about what you need or what you want, or when something doesn't feel right for you and that you need a moment to heal or to stabilize. Vulnerability is not oversharing. It's not trauma dumping. It doesn't need to come covered in emotion or fear, even though there are times and situations where it may have built up and you have to step out with some emotion or that it's a charged conversation, and that's okay. But ultimately, the goal would be to be in a place where you could be confident and grounded in stating your vulnerability. And these statements can be as simple as, I need help. I'm scared. I messed up. This is who I really am. That doesn't work for me. I made these mistakes. This is my real life. It's those moments when we say, this is me, take it or leave it. And listen, it is scary because you're stepping out in uncertainty and you're hoping for a positive outcome, but you don't really know what's going to happen. But that's what makes it powerful. That's where real trust and connection begin. Because think about it. No relationship, whether it's romantic or platonic, is going to have true trust unless there's vulnerability. If it's a romantic relationship, you cannot reach true intimacy unless you have true vulnerability. It fosters deeper connections. It's something that shows authenticity, which is a form of being transparent, which builds trust. And by sharing your fears and insecurities, you create space for your partner to do the same. And that opens the door for your bond to grow. So even at work, when I have to build teams, people is where I start. People, process, technology. We start by getting everybody in the room. and we get really honest and transparent with one another. We find out what's working, what's not working, where the interpersonal issues are, where's all the muck, and then we try to figure out how to address it, right? But that starts with us being honest and real and being vulnerable with one another, telling each other what we don't like and what's not working for us. Because listen, that team, that unit cannot thrive unless there's trust. And we need to be vulnerable and open and honest with each other in order for that to happen. So I wanted to share a little story about a time when I was vulnerable. And I wanted to try and get a recent example. And so I was reflecting on the last relationship that I was in. And at the time I'm recording this podcast in June of 2025, it's probably been close to a year since I've been in that relationship. And it was a time in that relationship where it was time to say those big three words. And you know the three words I'm talking about, the big three, the I love you, the big three words that really put it out there, and it's going to either change the relationship or you're going to feel really silly for saying it if it's not reciprocated, right? And I knew that she felt that way, but I didn't. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't sure if my confession was going to be reciprocated, especially since it turned out that this person I was dating was an avoidant, a true typical avoidant. But around the 2 or 3 month marker, I got the emotional courage coupled with some wine, and I opened up and I said, hey, I've been holding this in and I'm not sure why it's so hard, but I love you. In that moment, I was vulnerable when I was waiting for her reply. I had no more armor. I had no more shields. Like I put it out there, right? And we're talking about like milliseconds of time. Like I can't even send a freaking text message in that time, but my brain acts like it's an eternity when it was like some scene from Die Hard where we're like, I love you. But I was waiting and she smiled and said, I love you too. And I got this like instant dopamine release. And what I learned was that she had been waiting to say that for about 6 weeks. And she had been hoping that I was going to say that for about 6 weeks. But we were both afraid to be vulnerable in that moment, right? We were both afraid to have that moment. But what if we stopped pretending and we just came out and had that moment? Because after that, this whole beautiful connection emerged. This passion just deepened between two people and the conversation shifted. And the relationship just formed at another level and it took off from there. Because that moment of I love you is like the ultimate surrender to someone. It reflects self-giving and vulnerability at a very deep level. It's a complete loss of control. I'm placing trust in that person with strong feelings. This declaration of commitment to that relationship and person is allowing them to know my true self. And listen, maybe in another episode, we can talk more about that specific relationship. But my point is, look what vulnerability did for me. It did for us. And it did for the course of that relationship in that moment. So why does it matter? Vulnerability is how we grow. It's how we heal. It's how we form the kinds of connections we actually want. It's how we build the connections with people that we want to have. We want connections that are built in trust. We want connections that are built in transparency and honesty. We want to be able to come to friends and coworkers, partners and spouses, boyfriends and girlfriends, and say things to them without fear of any type of retaliation. We want to be ourselves. Because, listen, you can't build intimacy, community, connection, peace, or anything that feels like you without taking off your mask. And it's going to require you stepping out on uncertainty. So stop hiding behind your feelings. Because if people mind, then they don't matter. And the ones that matter won't mind. People that matter will not care if you are vulnerable and authentic. They will accept that. They will probably be happy that you came to them and trusted them with your truth. So I want to close with a little bit of reflection. What armor are you still carrying? What walls do you still have up? Where are you hiding parts of yourself because you think they're unlovable? or because you think you don't deserve to share them? What would it look like if you just decided to be seen? If you just show up as you are today? Listen, I know that walls in your armor, all this stuff is built up over years. I don't expect that you're going to drop it all at once, but today, just today, drop one piece. Say one real thing. Maybe you tell someone how much they really mean to you. Tell somebody who's earned the right to hear it. Maybe you tell a spouse, a partner, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, how much they mean to you, or something that you've been hiding that you really need to get off your chest. Maybe you open up in a professional setting to be the change that you want to see in that team or that organization. Maybe you're honest with someone at the grocery store that you've liked forever and you just haven't had the heart to say something to them. Whatever form of that vulnerability looks like for you, just try stepping out in uncertainty. Try stepping out on faith just a little bit. Just a little bit. Move the ball a little bit. You're not going to die. You might actually enjoy it. Because I guarantee you, when you stop pretending and start being honest, you're going to feel much better. Because vulnerability isn't weakness. It's your superpower. Guys, I'm going to stop there today. As always, if something hit, share it with someone else. And remember, life is better when we stop pretending and start talking.